Join the conversation by calling in at 476-1045 or tweet into the show at 1045 The Team. It's Big Board Sports with Roger Weiland on 1045 The Team.
And we are joined by New York Post, New York Mets beat writer Mike Puma on Big Board Sports on 1045 The Team, ESPN Radio. Mike, good morning to you. Thanks for a few minutes. Roger Weiland, Brian Mariano here in Albany on ESPN Radio. How are you today?
I'm great. How you doing, guys?
We're good, Mike. Appreciate it. So is it finally going to win? Breaks an 8-game losing skid, 2-0, and Frazier had the big hit. But, boy, then right after the game, Adrian Gonzalez gets released by the New York Mets. Did that come as a surprise to you?
A little bit of a surprise with the timing, but at the same time, you could see he was pretty close to the end of his rope here. His numbers weren't great. He made a big error at first base a couple of nights earlier. The only thing is they're bringing back Dom Smith, who really wasn't tearing it up at AAA Las Vegas. So they're just going to throw him in there, I guess, and see what he can do at this point. But I think they got what they wanted out of Adrian Gonzalez, which was a couple of months at first base, and he was okay in May, and then he had gotten off to a slow start, and he was okay in May, and he had been declining the last few weeks, so they made the move.
Well, it was a nice win last night, one that the Mets needed, but wow, you released Gonzalez, which at the end of the day, it was not going to be the end of the world, but as Rubel Cabrera leaves in the fourth inning with a hamstring, and then the word on Cespedes is not very good either, left a minor league game over the weekend, and what's the prognosis there? And Juris Familia goes on the DL. Quite the weekend there for the Mets.
Yeah, another brutal weekend injury-wise, kind of more of the same, what you've come to expect with the Mets almost. And I guess, the Cespedes thing is a big setback. Now he's on his way back to Florida, to Port St. Lucie, to kind of, I think basically start over in this workout process. I don't think we're going to see him. The Mets have a 10-game road trip here. I'd be surprised if we see him at all in these next 10 games. And then you have Cabrera went out last night. That sounds like a DL, anything with that hamstring, especially, Cabrera's had so many leg issues before. And then Familia, they hope he's back on this next road trip. So some significant injuries right now.
New York Post, Mike Puma joining us here. You can follow him on Twitter at NYPost_Mets. And Mike, for this team that has another round of significant injuries this past weekend with the trade deadline like 6 or 7 weeks away, where can we see the Mets going with this trade deadline? Do we see them being active at all?
Yeah, I mean, right now, obviously, they look like they're going to be sellers going to the trade deadline. Now, here we are, June 11th. The next month is going to basically determine what they do here. But if they don't show any improvement here over these next few weeks, you could certainly see them look to trade some of their pieces. Now, doesn't mean they have to trade them, but I think they'll listen to offers for guys like DeGrom, Syndergaard. You can certainly see them moving a guy like Familia, who's a free agent after this year. Now, some of these other pieces, I just wonder how much value there is. A guy like Cabrera, I think, if he's back from this hamstring thing and playing near the level he was, there'll be some interest for that kind of bat. So there's some guys they can move here. The big fish are DeGrom and Syndergaard, and I think if the team doesn't show any improvement here, I think they'll listen to offers for both of them.
What are the chances, Mike, of still holding out hope, if you're a Mets fan, that you get things going here? The starting pitching has been pretty good, and Lugo was really good last night, and for a change, the bullpen was right there, and Frazier gets the big hit, the 2-run homer to win the game 2-0. So that last night was pretty good, and you get one game out of the 3 at home and save a little bit of embarrassment of losing 3 straight to the Yankees. But in your opinion, is there enough bright spots here for a Met fan to go, you know what, they can still turn the corner if they can start hitting the ball?
Well, that's the thing. This team is built on pitching, and the thing the front office is looking at right now is that the starting rotation has basically, over these last 3 weeks, morphed into what they thought it was going to be. I think, I'm trying to think what the number is. I think they pitched they started to pitch about a 2.3 ERA over the last 20, 21 games, something like that. So they'll certainly take that. Now the bullpen had a little stretch where it was just brutal, and that's kind of stabilized. So I think that if you're an optimist, the perspective you take is, hey, this pitching's got a chance to keep them competitive. It's just a matter of tinkering with this lineup here and finding something that works that can get him 4 runs a night.
Does Syndergaard get the start? When will Noah Syndergaard make his next start?
We're not going to know that until probably later in this week. I think he's going to throw a bullpen session or a simulated game either tomorrow or Wednesday, and probably tomorrow in Atlanta. He's going to have some kind of throwing session, and then they'll kind of see where he is. They had been hoping he would pitch Sunday night against the Yankees, and then he had a flare up with his finger. So now it's on hold now, and everything's on hold until he throws again.
Mike Puma, always a pleasure for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports with the New York Post. We enjoy your work, Mike, and we'll talk to you down the road, my friend. All
right, take care, guys.
Thank you, Mike. Mike Puma there with all kinds of news on the Mets, and kind of lost in the shuffle with all that news is they did win a game last night